Welcome to Oakland Is. You just heard beautiful singing by one of the movers and shakers and image makers. This show is dedicated to that premise that movers and shakers and image makers make a difference every day in ordinary ways and in spectacular ways. Our special guest is Miss Natasha Miller. She has her website, natashamillerweb.com, and you'll probably see that on the screen. She's from Des Moines, Iowa, but she's here in the Bay Area and has been here for quite a while. And the song you just heard was Miss Natasha Miller, Don't Set Me Free. What was the purpose for that song? Did you compose that?
I didn't compose it. A great songwriter, Bobby Sharp, composed the song. He is famous for writing the song Unchain My Heart.
Yes.
And he wrote this song, Don't Set Me Free, as a follow-up to Unchain My Heart for Ray Charles.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes, I love that. And I understand you work with the City of Oakland?
I do, for different concert series around the City of Oakland.
Yes, tell us about that, how that works.
One of the clients is Shorenstein Realty, and that's on 12th and Broadway. It's at City Center every Wednesday from 12 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then we do something in the Diamond District, in Old Oaktown, for the Lakeshore District, and for, did I say the Diamond District already?
Yes, you did.
The Diamond District. And Rockridge.
Rockridge.
Right.
Oh, that sounds great. And what do? You have concerts in that area, those areas?
Right. There's usually a street fair or a neighborhood celebration, and I am the booking and programming manager for all of the events.
And then what about City Center?
City Center in Oakland.
That's a different.
Yes, that's a different client, and it's every Wednesday from 12 to 1.
And that's sponsored by?
Shorenstein, Clear Channel Outdoor, and Oakland Magazine.
What time are those events?
The City Center events are 12 to 1. The other events throughout the neighborhoods are sometimes one time a year or one and the third Thursday of the month. It's different with each neighborhood.
So then if one looks in the Oakland Tribune, they can find a listing
Hopefully,
of the events. Yes, sounds like that's very special. And is there a place that they could also call to get that information?
There isn't a place to call, but if they go to oaklandcitycenter.com or oaklandevents.net, that pretty much covers all of the concert series that I produce. oaklandevents.net and oaklandcitycenter.com.
Okay. Now, you are a jazz vocalist. You play the violin. You perform at Yoshi's.
That's right.
Could you tell us about some of the things that you've done there and some that will be coming up?
Sure. I started playing at Yoshi's in 2004, and I've been there about 6 times, mostly covering the music of Bobby Sharp, my songwriting. Well, he's not my songwriting partner because I don't do any of the songwriting. I do the singing of his songs. So, and then I recorded a Christmas CD, which I will be there at Yoshi's in Oakland on Christmas Eve this year, December 24th. 2 shows, 8 and 10.
Oh, that's marvelous. And have you heard of the songs of Mr. Jimmy Guy?
I have heard of the songs of Jimmy Guy.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I love the Oakland song. I love Oakland, so.
And you know the song Oakland Is. Have you ever heard the song Oakland Is?
I haven't heard it recently. I think I heard it a while back, but.
Yes. Phil Reeder was the Castleers choir director, and they sang it as a CD. And but the song speaks about the beauty of Oakland.
It is beautiful.
Yeah, Oakland is a stranger's paradise. And I used to ask Mr. Guy to sing it sometimes because the words are just truly beautiful. Then he has another song, I understand, I Love Oakland.
Right. It's a great song. It's a great blues tune, and it mentions places in Oakland, especially Everett and Jones, which is fantastic barbecue, as pretty much everyone should know.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
Does he have other songs as well?
He does. He's given me 4 to look at.
I see.
And I have yet to get on the piano and play through 2 of them because he didn't give me a recording of them yet. But he's a good songwriter.
Yeah.
He's also a good vocalist.
Yes, he has a wonderful voice too. And his speaking voice is tremendous too. I remember having him speak on the telephone sometimes, and I thought, what a wonderful voice. It's just so motivating to hear that kind of voice. And also I wanted to ask you about the connections with people like Ellen Hoffman, Bill Bell, and I think you said John Handy. You know him?
I know of John
Of him.
Handy. I don't know him.
Yes.
Ellen Hoffman was one of the first people in the Bay Area to help me with my singing career.
Nice.
I was a classically trained violinist.
Oh, okay.
And I just needed to figure out how to get loose and how to hang with a jazz ensemble and what the lingo was and how to transpose a song into the key that I could actually sing it in. And so Ellen was a great help to me years ago, and she's a beautiful composer. She composes a lot for the Oakland East Bay Symphony. She's a musical genius.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you have actually performed with the East Bay, Oakland East Bay
Right.
Symphony.
I performed a song I wrote called My Sleep, and that it was arranged for the orchestra.
Oh.
It was one of the most fantastic moments of my career.
My Sleep.
My Sleep.
Oh, so that should be very interesting, just the thought of my sleep. Oh, so, because that's something very precious when one goes to sleep. Yes. I was wondering about some of the things that you might want to share with the viewing audience. Anything else about your career?
Oh my goodness.
Classically trained
Well,
musician.
you know, I love both sides of what I do. I love performing, but I love the business. So I help musicians by booking them, first of all, in all of the events that I have. Also, I teach marketing and promotion at the jazz school for musicians to try to help people learn how to get people to come to their events, their gigs, beyond their family and best friends, because
Yes.
after a while, they'll stop coming too. So
That's
I love
marvelous.
doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you know Ray Taliaferro?
I know of him.
Of him?
Yes.
Because he helps with the Jazz Festival in Monterey.
Right. I've
Yes.
performed at the Monterey Jazz Festival.
Did you?
I did, and yet another high in my career. It was wonderful.
Now, when will you be playing the violin again?
I will most likely be playing at Yoshi's on Christmas Eve.
Oh, then that should be something that most people will try to make that.
I hope so.
Yeah. The performance will be around 10 o'clock? or
8 and 10.
8 and 10, yes. There's another song you wrote called At Midnight.
I
think-
didn't write it. Bobby Sharp wrote it.
Oh, he
But
did?
I sang it.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Yeah.
He wrote this one for Billie Holiday.
Oh.
And he played it for Oscar Peterson and Billie right before her death
Oh.
to see if she could sing it, but
Yes,
it was a little
Oscar
too late.
Peterson, yes. I just heard him play last night, a recording. Ray Taliaferro had him play a beautiful piano piece. I just love that. I'm hoping that you would be able to hear, there's a little time left, and at the end we're going to hear At Midnight.
Good.
Now, is there something else that you'd like to tell us about the work that you're doing?
I would love people to know about Bobby Sharp.
Okay.
He has been a great musical partner, a great mentor. He's a beautiful songwriter, vocalist, and piano player. He plays very unusually. And he has a CD out called Bobby Sharp, The Fantasy Sessions,
Oh.
which I produced.
Okay.
And his website is bobbysharp.com.
Oh, I will have to look that up.
Good.
And S-H-A-R-P.
S-H-A-R-P.
Bobby Sharp.
Right.
And he's here in the Bay Area?
He is. He's in Alameda. He's
Alameda.
originally from Harlem. So
Oh.
he grew up with Duke Ellington and all of the people of that time.
Oh my goodness, that is so marvelous to hear. Because I remember hearing about, there was another, his name was Bobby Short.
Right.
And I heard him play on many shows.
Right, he was in New York, but he
Yes.
passed away a few years ago. and-
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And he played in the same place for years, I
Right.
believe. Yes. Now, the Bill Bell connection, did you play with his group?
He played for me. He played with me, so I've never played with his group.
I see.
But we loved saying that we were both from Iowa. We actually had a drummer in the band that went to school in Iowa and an upright bass player, John Shiflett, that grew up in Iowa too. So we were the all-Iowa band.
Oh.
We were good too.
So you probably went to the same schools.
We didn't.
You
We're
didn't?
all very different ages.
Oh, I
and
see.
we grew up in different cities within Iowa. So
Oh, yeah, I've met a lot of people from Iowa that are so talented, super talented.
well, it's really cold there, so there's not much to do but hone your skills.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a good motivation. Yeah, and I think Mr. Guy, who's a producer of this show, has a song called Oakland Is, and the words, have you heard the words to that?
I haven't recently, but I would love to look into that.
Yeah, I think it's a marvelous song. And then I Love Oakland. Do you remember the words to that?
I don't remember all of the words, but I have the lead sheet and a tape of a beautiful woman. I'm not sure who sang that, but it was a great recording.
Yes, very interesting to know. Now, I was wondering about there's a group you mentioned called Brass
Mafia. Right.
And that's a group that plays jazz?
They play jazz and some funk and Motown, and I had them today at the Kaiser Rooftop Garden.
Today?
At a concert. They'll be playing tomorrow at the Lake Fest.
Oh,
I like to book them a lot. They're very unusual and very imaginative.
Oh, so they'll be coming back again, I'm
Yes.
sure. And then something called Lakeshore at Trestle Glen.
Yeah, the
That's
Lake Fest.
Lake Fest.
Yes, that
Oh.
is August 2nd and 3rd, and we'll be doing it again next year.
And then the Kaiser Center Rooftop.
Right. Those
There's
are
a-
Fridays at
There's a
12 to
garden.
1.
Yes, we have a song that you're going to be singing at midnight.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we'd like to have them play that we'll come right back. And at the end of this, we'll come right back with part 2 of Oakland Is with Yasmin Michelle.
Here am I in the streets alone at midnight. Without a friend to talk to me, with just a howling wind to keep me company. The mournful wail of a nightingale at midnight.
Y'all tell everybody, big cats in town. Now we gon' rock and roll until the sun goes down. So let the good times roll. Hey.
Welcome back to part 2 of Oakland Is. Our guest is Oakland's own recording artist and songwriter, Big Cat Tolefree. Big Cat, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great. Let's just start with telling us what was just playing.
That's just one of the songs on my latest CD called Kinfolk's Family Reunion. It's out now in stores. It's called Night Train. And I wrote that song on the way back from Paris in like 15 minutes, and nothing special about it, but people love it, so I'll put it on that CD. And
Okay, so what prompted it, and it's called, Reunion, and so how does that relative to Paris, and what kicked it off?
Well, Tolefree is my last name. My family name is a huge French Creole kind of thing,
Okay.
Puerto Rican. And so we went to Paris, and we met some of my family over there.
Okay.
So it was like, they were like, well, what do you do? I said, well, I do blues. They said, well, we don't do just blues. And we don't like just blues. So I said, well, let me write something else. So I had some other stuff on there that's not quite blues, too. So,
Okay.
So it's a CD that's kind of like for the family reunion or a barbecue or something. It's a little bit something on there for everybody.
For everybody. And what's the name of it again?
It's called Kinfolk
Okay,
Family
and we'll
Reunion.
make sure that we show and maybe get a chance to play a little bit more of the
I
CD
appreciate that.
before the end of the show. So in reading about you and just some of the things that you do, tell me a little bit about what the new flavor of blues and soul music means. What does that mean?
Well, the new flavor is, I put a new flavor. The music is the same, traditional style of blues, but obviously I'm probably the youngest one around the Bay Area doing blues right now. So we kind of just put the new flavor on it because I don't sound like anybody. My music isn't like anybody else's, so it's kind of new, but it's still old too. Kind of like one of them borrowed blue kind of things.
Okay, so, and let's just go back. I was able to get the CD of Kinfolk. It's a Kinfolk family reunion. And you have about, what, 14 cuts on
Yeah,
it?
14 songs.
Okay, So you said you wrote Night Train in how long?
It took about 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes. Yeah. So what other songs? Just name a couple. What is Biorhythm?
Biorhythm was one dedicated to my family. Some of the folks we have down in Louisiana. But it definitely has a little Cajun flair to it. But it's still in the blues vein, but it's a little Cajun twist on there. So.
Okay, and you mentioned that your music is stimulating sex appeal, and that's what the music industry needs now. And why is that? And tell me about the stimulating sex appeal.
Well, stimulating is like, I call it grown folks music.
Okay.
You know, there's ways to say things that are seductive and not so blatant, you know. And that's what I try to do. I try to write songs. Most men don't buy anything, so females are who are my consumer base is, so I try to cater to that, and they seem to like the more seductive style of my music, so I pretty much cater to that. So.
Okay, and why is that important to the industry now?
Well, it's important because a lot of it's the music industry now. It's not really blues based. Even some of the blues artists aren't blues artists. You know, like you got Patti LaBelle doing blues festivals, and you know she's soul, and I love her to death. But mine's just more. It's a void right now. Nobody's really doing grown folks music where you can actually say lyrics that you can actually remember and stuff like that. So I pretty much cater to what nobody's doing now. It's you know, conscious lyrics.
And saying what nobody is doing, you're from Oakland, born and raised in Oakland. What inspired you, and who inspired you with blues to play and to sing blues music?
Wow, I've got a lot of blues influences.
And are any of them Oakland-based? And any experience in Oakland that you can relate to?
Yeah, well, blues. Teddy Blues Master Watson. He's a huge fan of mine. In fact, I try to emulate some of his vocal styles. Bob Giddens, which is way back in the 50s, but he was huge. Jimmy McCracklin, which is a neighbor of mine up here in Richmond, he's still an influence. We talk day to day. He kind of give me pointers and stuff. So
Wonderful.
There's a lot. I got a long list, man. And Ronnie Stewart, the Bay Area Blues Society, is one of my mentors. Wally Trask. It's just so many of those guys.
So go on and on.
Yeah.
So how is the genre of the music now? Is there a big audience for blues music in Oakland and beyond? And more importantly, who controls the music? As you know, with black folks, we're very talented, but often, unfortunately, do not control our music as far as the industry goes. So can you speak to a little bit about that? If it is a big audience, and who controls it? Are folks producing their own music or what?
Yeah, it's a little tough now going to a blues festival. And like I said, sometimes I go overseas and I'm the only black or African American, whatever, act on the stage.
Wow, playing blues?
Yeah, and it's kind of frustrating because they're, you know, I'm in my mid-40s and the guys that I try to represent are in their 60s and 70s, and some of the guys who don't own their own publishing to their music. So what I do as an artist is separate from what I do as a businessman. I actually build websites and do graphic designs, and the CD, I did all that stuff myself. So I do a little bit more than just blues. I'm more of an advocate for African Americans owning their own businesses and websites and marketing material and publishing, which is the big thing.
And so with that and owning their own music, and you're saying that, so that's somewhat like the blues culture that, I mean, the jazz culture that we often are not playing our own music. Our music is not being handed down to our young people. And so do you know of anyone who are advocating and working with young people to keep our blues alive? And particularly the reason why I asked that, I was watching a program where a couple non-black folks went down in the South and did like a master recording of many of the blues artists there, and unfortunately many of the elders who will probably not be around for much longer. So in a way, our music, again, is getting away from us and not being handed down to our young people.
Yeah, I agree to some extent, and then to some extent it's our fault as well.
Yeah, no.
We kind of
I
look for
agree.
the trinkets of the business versus the
What do you mean,
substance.
trinkets?
Well, trinkets are like, I drive a Lexus. Back in the day, they had Cadillacs was a thing. So that's a trinket thing, but I also have my own business. I didn't get it from music, you know, stuff like that. So sometimes it's a little tough when they dangle a carrot in front of you and, you know, you don't have any choice because you don't own the publishing, so you kind of have to sign that deal or whatever. But today it's a little different because we can own our own music, and we do own our own music, not we can, and our own publishing rights and stuff like that. So it's a little different now, but it's still frustrating when I go to festivals and see like people like Sonny Rhodes, some of the really guys that I really admire a lot, they don't own publishing to their original works and stuff like that. Jimmy McCracken is another victim of that. Stack Records was infamous for taking people's music and stuff like that. And it still goes on today. I mean, the Jive Records and some of the hip-hop kids, it still happens to them today, you know, because the focus isn't on the business of music, it's actually making music. And I always tell kids, and I do seminars all over the country, that the music is like 5% of the business, you know. So I put on my little clothes and my little hat tilted to the side like everybody else when it's time to do a show. But other than that, I'm designing my own graphics and, you know, I'm doing my own workshops teaching kids how to do, because you can't really help what's going on already, what's already happened, because it's a trend. You know, it'll be a cycle again when we start doing our own music again, stuff like that. But I blame the African-American community more than I do anybody else.
And why is that?
Well, because they can't take it from you if you own it. You know, if you own your own home, nobody can take it. You can lose it. You know, so it's kind of like home ownership.
And so when
to
you
me.
said own it, do you mean that, in other words, too, is that the music should be handed down? What do you mean by own it, other than just saying the publishing rights?
Yeah, to me, publishing is everything.
Okay.
You get a record deal, they give you, let's just say, I won't get into the technical term, they give you points per CD sold, which may amount to 8 cents per copy. Now, granted, you'll get lots of money if they sell millions of units, but blues isn't quite like that. You know, if you sell 20,000 units, I think we sold like 15,000 of that CD already in like a year and a half with no distribution, no record deal or anything. But it's really tough because I do have to do all the shows. I do have to rely on fans, support, and stuff like that, which I enjoy, because if they don't like you as an artist, why should they buy your CD?
Why should they buy
you know?
your CD?
And some of the older guys, you know, like B.B. King, some of the guys who've made it already aren't in a position where they can come back and say, hey, let me help you do this, because now that they've made it, it's a little tough to say, you know, come and take some of my money away.
Okay.
And that's why I say the new flavor of blues and soul, because I am coming on their heels, you know.
Okay.
So I'm very careful how I, you know, discuss business around certain people, because I don't want them to think I'm trying to kick them off the stage or trip them or something.
And you mentioned that you're world traveled. So what has made you stay in Oakland? And are you playing any venues in Oakland?
Yeah, I actually have
Or
quite a
in
few
the Bay
shows
Area?
coming up, up and down the West Coast. Oakland is my home.
Okay.
I have a few places that I lay my head down here and there, but Oakland is the mecca of every genre of music. I go to Paris, Belgium, and some of these countries, and you say Oakland, they already know. They expect you to sing very well. Sarah Vaughan.
Is that right?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, In Vogue. You know, they know what's coming out of Oakland, so you don't have a chance to fake it like some of these other countries or some of the other states do. You can come and say, I'm from Louisiana, and just play something and get by. California, it's a little bit more pressure on you.
So tell us where we can listen and get the what is it, the Big Cat experience?
Well, you can experience Big Cat at bigcatentertainment.com
Okay.
or MySpace /Big Cat Music.
Okay,
Big Cat
and
Blues.
repeat that again. Repeat
A
it
little
again.
slower. MySpace.com /Big Cat Blues and www.bigcatentertainment.com. And all my stuff is on there. But I'll be at here locally for the month of August. I'll be at Ardent Soul on the 31st.
Okay.
I'll be everywhere. But
You'll
if you
be
go there, you'll see my
You'll
schedule.
see the listings. Okay.
yeah.
And so I'm sure that let me just hold up the CD again, and then you could say the name is
Kinfolk Family Reunion.
Kinfolk Family Reunion in Big Cat Tolefree.
That's right.
Great. So perhaps you could give us another song and take us out on one of your latest off the CD.
I've got a few. One of my biggest, I guess, one of my fan favorites if that's what you want to call it. It's called Hoochie Coochies.
Okay.
You might want to play that at the end. That's for grown folks, though.
Oh, I can tell.
You got to watch yourself.
I can tell. I can tell by the title it
That's
is.
right.
And you often say that most of your audience are women.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, I kind of noticed. I was doing R&B before blues. Even at that point, I was still doing the same type of music.
And how many? You're not a solo artist?
Well, I have my own band. I don't.
You
sing
do have your own band.
Yeah.
And how many members are in your band? And they include who?
Oh,
Men,
my
women,
goodness.
both? Or?
A little both.
Okay.
All my background singers are female.
Okay.
They're the only one that's female on the stage because I don't want nobody up there that might sound a little better than me.
Okay.
They got to sit down. That's business. But I have a 10-piece band. We call it the Hypnotic Blues Band. It's the name of my band. And we travel everywhere doing our thing. So.
Well, great. Well, actually, we're about to wrap, and you'll take us out with one of your songs. We thank you for stopping by,
thanks for having
and
me.
we'll look to
Appreciate
see
it.
you in the local venue. And that will do it for this segment of Oakland Is. And Big Cat Tolefree will take us out with
Hoochie Coochie.
Hoochie Coochie.
Y'all tell everybody, big cats in town. Now we gon' rock and roll until the sun goes down. So let the good times roll. Hey, just let the good times